Did you know every year airplanes release over 900 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere? That's nearly 3% of all global emissions. Here's the twist. Most people on Earth don't even fly. In fact, only about 10% of the world's population flies in a typical year. But as the economies grow and more people take to the skies, the number is set to rise. So the question is, can we keep flying without wrecking the planet? The answer might lie in something called Sustainable Aviation Fuel, or SAF. So what is SAF? Sustainable Aviation Fuel is a cleaner alternative to traditional jet fuel. And here's the key difference. Instead of coming from petroleum, it's made from more eco-friendly and sustainable sources. It's still jet fuel, but it's made in a way that can drastically reduce emissions over its life cycle and use. Right now, the aviation industry runs almost entirely on fossil fuels. That's a big problem, because commercial flying is one of the hardest sectors to decarbonize. Unlike cars, planes can't just swap to electric batteries or hydrogen technology easily. This is due to concerns about weight, safety, and overall transition cost. That's why SAF is so important. It offers a practical path to flying more sustainably today, while reducing greenhouse gas emissions by up to 80% compared to regular jet fuel.
So how do we actually make these fuels? We create sustainable aviation fuels using something called feedstocks. That's just a fancy word for raw materials. Let's take a look at some of these common feedstocks. Ethanol, one of the most common biofuels, is made from starch and sugar-based materials such as corn, sugarcane, and wheat. Ethanol is cheap, and infrastructure is well developed, but it raises concern over land use as fuel crops compete with food production. Another common feedstock is used cooking oil from both restaurants and households that can be collected and refined. This process is most profitable, but the collection process lacks standardization and the product must be blended. Lastly, carbon dioxide from direct air capture technology can be combined with green hydrogen and synthesized into synthetic SAF. This process is extremely expensive and technology is not as widely available. Each process works a bit differently, but the goal is the same: to produce a cleaner and more sustainable fuel for airplanes. Now, all of this sounds awesome, but does it make sense economically? On a positive note, SAF can work with existing aircraft engines and traditional jet fuel infrastructure, which can help maintain existing jobs while creating new green jobs in agriculture, chemistry, and energy. But there are still some challenges. It's more expensive to produce than traditional jet fuel. Some feedstocks require a lot of land, water, and energy to procure. That said, with the right investment, SAF could drive job creation in rural communities and kickstart new industries focused on waste recycling and carbon capture.
On a larger scale, SAF fits into a vision called circular carbon, where the carbon released during flight is balanced by the carbon captured or recycled during fuel production, either biologically or synthetically. It doesn't eliminate emissions entirely, but it makes flying much more sustainable compared to burning fossil fuels, which would be directly adding carbon to the atmosphere from beneath the Earth. As the world tries to push towards less carbon emissions, we see many governments implementing policies to incentivize the production and consumption of SAF. In the U.S., we saw the SAF Grand Challenge and credit programs under the Inflation Reduction Act introduced to push for the production of SAF. However, these programs have come to a halt under the Trump administration. As for the rest of the world, places like the EU have made progressive goals, while Asian countries like China and India are just starting to introduce policy and development. While policies vary globally, the momentum towards cleaner aviation is clear. Flying will likely always be a part of our lives, but how we fuel our flights is changing. Sustainable aviation fuel isn't a perfect fix, but it's one of the most promising paths to a lower carbon future in aviation. With innovation, investment, and a little global teamwork, we really can change the way we fly, for the better. The future of aviation is cleaner, greener, and already taking off.